Yeah, no, thank you. I'm always happy to be at MNCodes. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about Girls Who Code and our clubs program and hopefully get you all inspired to bring this free curriculum back to your students. But to start, I'd love to just introduce myself. My name is Kibret, and I'm a Senior Community Partnerships Manager and Outreach at Girls Who Code, which just basically means I get to work with community leaders, librarians, educators, parents, teachers across the country to bring our free curriculum to their students. I wanted to highlight that bit.ly link I have on the screen there. If you want to receive a copy of these slides and the linked resources, feel free to go to that website, sign in, and I'll be happy to send you all of the resources that I shared today. I'll be happy to also share that link at the end. So with that, I think it's useful to start with the why behind our work at Girls Who Code before we talk about how to get started and how to bring this curriculum to your students. What is the problem we're trying to solve together? Let's talk a little bit about the national tech landscape. Computer science skills, as everyone here, of course, knows, are extremely important in today's economy and are basically used in every industry. There are over 500,000 open computing jobs right now that are waiting to be filled, but there are less than 80,000 computer science graduates in the US each year. And these opportunities, we all know, just continue to grow and become more and more relevant for students today. Computer science jobs also average a salary of over $100,000 each year. This is really important for us to highlight to students through our programs at Girls Who Code to remind them that these could potentially change their lives in terms of socioeconomic opportunities, that the coding skills that they're learning at the middle and high school level could eventually lead them to really lucrative career paths. And the skills that they develop are really flexible and transferable skills. We like to remind our students who come to our programs that even if they're not already obsessed with coding, or if they've never started it, or if they think they're more of an arts and science person or humanities person, there's always a way to combine their interests with coding skills. Coding is about thinking creatively. It's about breaking down problems. And those are certainly skills that they can take to any industry. And we find that when a lot of students exit our programming, they're often already thinking of ways to combine coding with their pre-existing interests and passions. So we like to remind students that 60% or over 60% of jobs are in non-tech fields. And we know that even with all of these exciting opportunities, not everyone has always been included. And we know that women are not necessarily seeing the same opportunities that men do in this industry. And these statistics are not just relevant for national landscape. If we look at Minnesota, it definitely tracks and follows the national trends. There were 13,000 open computing jobs in 2019, which is 2.3 times the state average demand rate and has an average salary of $92,000. And yet only 29% of Minnesota schools teach APCS, and out of 1,800 APCS exams taken in Minnesota in 2019, only 23% of them were taken by female students. And finally, overall, only about 1,500 CS graduates. So it's certainly something that we want to look at the national level, but definitely something we can address locally. Today, less than 1 in 5 computer scientists are women, and even a smaller amount are women of color. This gender gap in technology has continued to widen over the past few decades, and that becomes a huge problem for 2 main reasons. One, when women and non-binary folks are pushed out of this space, they lose out on those high-paying jobs and lucrative opportunities that I was talking about. And secondly, we lose out as a society, as consumers, when companies create new products or programs that don't include diverse perspectives from all walks of life. And so now that we know a little bit more about why and the gender gap in tech, that's where Girls Who Code wants to come in. We are trying to do the work to change the landscape and change the idea of what a programmer looks like and does. Definitely on a mission to close that gender gap in tech. And how do we do this? Through free programs. Through all of our programming, they're all free and accessible to students across the country, and they all have 3 central pillars that underpin our educational philosophy. The first, interestingly enough, is more than code, because we're not just teaching students how to program, we really are teaching them computational thinking more generally, how to break down problems, think creatively. Again, always coming back to the idea that these skills are things that you can take into any industry and basically any career path. The second pillar is sisterhood, where we let students know that they belong. We really do embed our curriculum with a lot of opportunities for students to reflect and learn about female leaders in tech, because we know that research shows that having this supportive group to learn and grow with helps with retention. It literally helps make them understand the material better and connect to the material better. And we want to have students feel supported in these spaces that we create through Girls Who Code programming. And finally, by prioritizing real-world relevance and impact, we show students how they can use computer science to change their local communities and change the world, empowering them to use the CS skills that they're learning in these courses, no matter what they want to accomplish. So always trying to connect through that through line of, you're doing these coding skills in this class today, but how can you take this out of the classroom? Our largest program is definitely our clubs program, which I'm focused on talking about today. It's designed for 3rd through 12th grade students of all genders. And that's something I want to emphasize, because while the curriculum is certainly girls focused and girls forward, students of all genders are welcome to join these clubs. If you're launching this at a library, at a school, in your community, you're more than welcome to invite students of all genders. And it never hurts young boys to have female role models in tech. We focus on activating interest in computer science, introducing students to coding with tutorials, and really trying to help them understand that there is a network of female and non-binary workers in technology, developing that network and helping them lean on that sisterhood with the students that they're in the club with. In addition to the clubs program, we offer 2 summer programs that I will definitely chat about at the end, because we are still openly recruiting students for that program. But those are high school opportunities for older students with an emphasis on looking at a career in tech, very much like our typical academic year clubs program, with a little bit of an emphasis on connecting with corporate partners and networking with professionals. So I'll definitely preview that as well. But with that, let's talk a little bit more about the Girls Who Code Clubs programs overview and what it exactly means to start a Girls Who Code club. Basically, Girls Who Code clubs are after-school programs that can be hosted during the school day and are open to communities across the country. They are free programs. So that means they're free if you want to start a club, they're free for your organization or school if they're hosting the club, and they're free for the students who will participate in that club. So you don't have to worry about incurring any costs for curriculum or materials. Like all of our Girls Who Code programs, the clubs are aligned with those 3 educational philosophy pillars. So you can expect lots of examples of sisterhood activities focused on helping girls and students be brave and take risks in these courses. So there's as much of a focus on the sometimes called softer skills about bravery and resilience that are required to kind of succeed in the coding world. And in order to cater to different learning styles and different club configurations, we've made the curriculum very flexible. So there's a 3rd through 5th grade program and a 6th through 12th grade program. This means that depending on the age range of the students that you're working with, you can have a curriculum specifically designed for them. Now, these are just suggestions, so it's certainly not prescriptive. And if you have someone at that 5th grade level and you think you want to start the 6th through 12th grade curriculum, you definitely can. It's just a matter of reading level comprehension and what they can expect to be able to handle in the material. But we definitely trust all of the volunteers who launch these clubs to assess what their students need. So both programs are completely available to you. And for folks serving in both age ranges, you're more than welcome to start 2 clubs, one with the curriculum for the younger students and one for the curriculum with the older students. You'll see on this slide that we do make recommendations for length of sessions and number of sessions that are ideal to get through the content. Again, these are also recommendations, so you can certainly condense or expand the material if you'd like to run a club over the course of a semester or over the course of an entire calendar or school year. Now, we believe that all girls have the ability to use the coding skills that they learn in these clubs to change their communities. And so we serve all girls, but especially those who are underrepresented, those who are free and reduced lunch eligible, those who have little or no exposure to computer science and are female regardless of gender assignment at birth. So this means that, of course, the program is open to students of all genders, but we really do make an effort to make sure that our clubs programming is accessible to students who are underrepresented in these communities. Again, always thinking about the gender gap in tech. Here you can see a little bit more detail about the breakdown of the 3rd through 5th grade club, versus that 6th through 12th grade club. So for the younger students, each club meeting consists of 3 main chunks with an optional opportunity to do a community building sisterhood activity. Now, the 6th through 12th grade curriculum is very similar in terms of its structure. The main difference is the content. There's an opportunity to look through a series called Women in Tech Spotlights, which is a fantastic library of examples of different female leaders in tech. And that is really specific for the older students because it's a wonderful opportunity for them to sit, read, reflect, learn a new name of someone who is a female leader in tech. Besides that, the structure is very similar. Each session starts off with a welcome or an activity. These activities are designed by Girls Who Code, and you will have full facilitation notes to help you lead these activities if you start a club. So the point is that you can walk into the first session, look at the pre-prepared lesson plan that we outline, and feel comfortable diving into the material, even if you are not familiar with the curriculum before, or if you're not familiar with the particular programming languages that are focused on in each session. Now, what do you actually need to get started? It's really very simple. Clubs can be done in person or virtually. Of course, since the pandemic, we've seen a lot more clubs opt to do it virtually. We do see a hybrid version of that where some clubs decide that they'll meet in person once a week and then virtually another week. That configuration is completely up to you. There is a lot of flexibility with how you'd like to run the program, especially in terms of where and when you're meeting. So either virtual or in person is a perfect option. The second thing you need is technology and internet. Now, technology and internet is certainly required for the 6th through 12th grade program, but I do want to highlight for that 3rd through 5th grade program, there really is an opportunity to do the entire thing unplugged. And by unplugged, I mean that we have books that essentially comprise that 3rd through 5th grade curriculum. And so students can have the books in hand, read through the materials. There's a fiction and a nonfiction book that really help illustrate computational thinking through storytelling, and it's a really engaging way to help younger students dive in. So you can decide to have the books in person and just do the entire series unplugged, certainly an option. Excuse me. The last thing you need is a facilitator and a decision maker. Now, these are just more formal names for who is leading the club and who needs to stay in touch with Girls Who Code. The Girls Who Code facilitator is the volunteer who's running the club. Again, this facilitator can really be any and everyone. We have educators who are CS teachers deciding to do this after school. We have librarians who have no CS background at all deciding to run a club at their library. We also have parents who come into schools to run a club just as a volunteer. Really, we think that anyone can get started, just have to be 18 or older and willing to either go through a background check if they are not employed by the school or the library or the nonprofit site. And if they are already employed there, then they won't need to go through that process. So really just who's launching the club, who is in charge here, and who can Girls Who Code reach out to when we want to send your club fun swag. And the decision maker is another role. This can be the same person as the facilitator. Oftentimes, though, we know that the facilitator is someone who will lead the sessions and is involved with the students and the day-to-day. And there might be someone else on your team, on your staff, who just needs to be involved, know that there's a club running, and be able to access information if they need to. That person can be the decision maker if there's a principal or someone on senior staff who needs to be involved, but not necessarily running the club. Once you have those 3 things, you are absolutely ready to launch a club. Again, as a reminder, who can be a facilitator? These represent the overwhelming majority of the folks who we have as club facilitators, but I do want to highlight that we have found different facilitation models that have been really successful for folks who feel like they either have not enough time or not enough bandwidth, honestly, to be able to run a weekly after-school club. And so there are a few options for different ways that you can facilitate a club. The first, of course, is one facilitator per club, and that person is there either weekly, monthly, depending on the cadence that you set with your students. And that is just the one person in charge. Another model is to have more than one facilitator. When you complete the club application, you'll be able to indicate, I am also facilitating this with someone else on your team or on your staff. The last option is the facilitator can be an adult who is an advisor. And it's actually having to support students who decide to run the club themselves. And so while the student can't be solely responsible, they couldn't be listed as the facilitator alone because they wouldn't be 18 or older. They can be there to actually lead sessions. And we find that a lot of club facilitators use the Girls Who Code Club program as a way to do student leadership opportunities. So really having some older students work with younger students on coding tutorials. If there are older students who are already in APCS classes, this is a great opportunity for them to run the club after school, really just helping the younger students who are just getting started. All of that, again, is completely optional and flexible, but it is an option, and I think a good one for those of us who know that it's hard to sometimes have the same standing time after school with the same set of students. You can definitely have your students help out with some of that work. And then finally, I want to talk through how Girls Who Code supports your club. So once you are all set and you know you have someone to facilitate the club, you have a location, and you have the access to internet and tech that is needed, Girls Who Code really provides everything else. So the first thing I want to highlight is the Club Fund. The Club Fund is an Amazon wish list program up to $500 for each club. What does that mean? There's no cost to start a club. And so this shouldn't cover any fees associated with starting the program, but it can be used to help supplement anything you'd like to buy or purchase for your club. So a lot of folks decide to have snacks, and they just purchase, different after school snacks to keep the kids fed and engaged in an after school program, which is often really a big winner for younger students. And then other folks decide to use it on books, supplementary materials, robotics kits, really anything that comes to mind in terms of what your students seem most interested in and most engaged with, but really just an opportunity to make sure that as a facilitator, you are not taking any funds out of pocket or, having to go above and beyond to really enhance this experience and customize it for your students. So that fund is available for any club that gets started, as long as you have at least 3 members. In addition to that, there are a few other logistical supports that we offer, including the Girls Who Code HQ platform. This platform is the website where students and facilitators would create an account in order to access the curriculum. So very convenient, very easy, free account. You just sign in, and then you're able to access all of the material that I outlined on those future slides. And then finally, of course, the actual curriculum itself in terms of the 120 hours of programming, that's through those activities, those women in tech spotlights, and the coding tutorials. On HQ, you'll find that it is really organized by programming language and then broken down by sessions. So again, as a reminder, if you're thinking about doing this over the course of a semester, you can kind of follow the suggested sessions and lesson plans. And if you decide, I'd actually like to stretch this out, we're not meeting weekly, we're meeting more bi-weekly, whatever the case may be, you might be able to just go in and do half of a session and then stop and mark your progress on HQ on the platform, and then be able to revisit it and pick up right where you left off for the next time. So the platform is really designed to help you navigate all the material as a facilitator. And then on the student end, they're able to see all the same material without those extra facilitation notes that are really just for the club leader. And then finally, we have a library of resources for training. We really do want people who have never coded before to feel comfortable doing this. Of course, coding background only enhances and makes this programming easier. But for folks who are a lot more nervous or not sure about instructing CS, there are a lot of facilitation resources designed on how to use the curriculum, but also just how to make it engaging, how to embed all of the Girls Who Code values like sisterhood and bravery and resilience into your facilitation. So a plethora of resources really for anyone who's nervous about facilitating or wants to make sure that they are leading the club in the most effective way. Finally, let's talk a little bit about those community benefits. Like I've mentioned with our second pillar of our educational philosophy, sisterhood is really as equally important as the coding skills and technical skills that students walk away with. We want this to be fun. We want students to feel like they can make mistakes here and ask questions. And so we do have a lot of resources in the curriculum and outside the curriculum to just support community. First and foremost, you have a regional retention specialist. This is someone who's an expert on HQ, the curriculum, and our systems, and who you can reach out to in the middle of a session, before a session, or after if you have any technical issues or need general guidance on how to navigate the platform. That person is really your resource for all things and all questions HQ. In addition to that, we have a lot of other benefits that are just designed to help the club feel really connected. So we do send out free Girls Who Code t-shirts as soon as you have 3 members. So the day that you enroll a 3rd student on the platform, we send you an email saying, how can we get you a $500 club fund and how can we send you t-shirts for your students? And the t-shirts are always a big hit with students. We know that everyone loves to match and look like a team. And so it really does build that community spirit. So we'll send those to you as soon as you enroll 3 students. In addition to that, there are a lot of resources on HQ and that you'll receive just as being a part of our listing. So all students who go through our programming are funneled into our alumni network. And so even if a student is just in a club for a few sessions or a full semester or year over year, they will continue to receive emails about opportunities through our other programs, as well as exclusive events. We do a lot of virtual sessions, women in tech panel discussions with our corporate partners, always trying to, again, just like highlight what is exactly the path from a Girls Who Code club to a job as a software engineer, for example. And so we try to bring in our corporate sponsors, different female leaders in tech to speak to students. And so any student who is enrolled in your club will immediately gain access to all of this programming and just the networking that comes with being in a Girls Who Code program. So finally, let's talk about how to apply. I always say that apply seems like a big word for what we're asking. I think it's more appropriate to just say like submit your intent to start a club. Again, the main thing that would hold up the application or that would make it take time for you to be approved is if you are someone who is in the community who's coming into a school or a library or a site to volunteer, because we'd have to run a background check that would take a little time. But if you are the educator or if you're the staff person, of course, you've already done that. And so your application should be really quick. It's very brief. You go to girlswhocode.com/clubs apply. Should take you about 10 minutes. We're really just interested in where you're hosting the club, where you're from, and what type of curriculum you need access to, 3rd through 5th or 6th through 12th. And so it shouldn't take too long, but I hope that it's something that's really easy to complete. If you are tempted to look at the application right now on a separate tab, happy to talk to anyone about any questions that they see there. Finally, after you submit the application, you will get an approval email in a few days that lets you know your club code. This is just your unique identifier so that you can let your students know this is the club code when you enroll on your account, and it's the way that we identify your club. You also can name your club anything you want. We've seen very cool, fun, and local focused names over the years. And so your club can have an identity. This code is just used on the back end to enroll your students. And really, that's it. Once you are approved, you can get started anytime. There is no pressure to get started right away. So if you want to complete the application now, in order to look through the material, have access to it, take time to look through that 120 hours of programming, I definitely welcome you to and encourage you to do so, because you can start your club later this year or even next year. Any time is fine as long as you indicate it on the application. We won't reach out to you kind of about getting started or reminding you about the to-do list before you have your first session until your launch date. So there's a lot of flexibility there as well. With that, that is everything I wanted to share about the clubs program. I know that it was a lot of information and there's a lot of flexibility in the program. So I hope that it helps you understand how you could potentially bring it back to your students and your networks. But I wanted to pause briefly here if there were any burning questions about anything I went over with the clubs program.
Kibret, since most of our people here are from Minnesota, can you talk a little bit about the support that they can get here in the state and through like our partnership with Code Savvy as well?
Yeah, absolutely, Val. So because we are partnered with Code Savvy, we do offer all Minnesota clubs extra supports and opportunities. So in addition to all the supports that you get from Girls Who Code, we do offer additional swag benefits because any clubs that are basically affiliated with our partnership are entitled to a little bit more support and a little bit more networking in their community. So in addition to general things that you'd receive, as I outlined on the slide before, you also have access to Code Savvy's fantastic slate of exclusive events over the course of the spring and fall academic calendar year. So we will reach out to you, monthly, letting you know about the slate of upcoming opportunities for Minnesota clubs specific to Code Savvy and then specific to Girls Who Code. In addition to that, we're just trying to build up the network of just like CS community leaders in the state, and we want Girls Who Code to be a part of leading that conversation. So over the next year, we're planning to do more local exclusive virtual events that are focused on helping you connect with the other code savvy Girls Who Code club facilitators. That network has grown significantly over this past year. And so now we're in a position to have best practices and share out how to think about the Girls Who Code and Code Savvy year in tandem and how those different programs support one another. So I would say that for folks who are in the state, it's a really, really fantastic opportunity and time to dive in because this network is kind of building and growing now more than ever.
Thank you. And thank you for the partnership as well. It's been awesome this last year.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think it's really supported Girls Who Code's work immensely. I feel like because we are a national organization, we definitely have access to different parts of the country, but there's nothing like working with an organization that's local, understands the specific needs in the CS network in Minnesota. And so I'm happy to work with Code Savvy and know more about the Minnesota landscape. Okay, well, like I said, we'll definitely pause for questions again at the end. I wanted to highlight one other program that we offer simply because we are still openly taking in applications for our summer programs. But if you think about a question related to clubs or how to get a club started, definitely feel free to hold it until the end. In addition to the clubs program, we do also offer a summer program for high school age students. A reminder, if you want to receive a copy of the slide deck, just feel free to sign in at that link there. The summer program, I want to draw a very large distinction between that and our clubs program. We are not asking for a volunteer in the community. The Girls Who Code team launches and runs and instructs over the course of the summer. So we are running this program. Students really just need to apply. And so I'll talk briefly about how students can apply and who's eligible. The Girls Who Code summer program is focused on high school girls and non-binary students. So another distinction to draw, the clubs program, boys are more than welcome to join Girls Who Code clubs. The summer program is only specifically eligible for high school girls and non-binary students. The why behind that is because this program is focused on that career in tech preview. We really want these students to leverage this opportunity to talk to corporate partners and network with professionals. And so that's why it's focused specifically, again, on our grander mission, closing the gender gap in tech and getting girls and non-binary students access to those spots in tech industry. And so it also is for 9th through 12th graders. So if you have high school students that you work with who have some coding experience or who have no coding experience at all, summer program is designed for both. On their application, they would just indicate their level of CS experience and what they hope to get out of this program. And that's really it. We're not asking for GPA, transcripts, recommendations. We are hoping that this program is an opportunity to reach students who otherwise feel like they're not qualified for or not eligible for opportunities that might be more local to them. And so I would really encourage, if you have any high school students that you think might be interested in this, it's a 2-week program, which means that it's 2 weeks live daily instruction, Monday through Friday. They would log on to Zoom and have a few hours of instruction. And then in the afternoon, they would have access to optional virtual events, those are those career panels, those opportunities to network with professionals in the industry. And so those are optional and they can kind of make their own time. But the few hours of daily instruction is focused on collaborative projects. And so by the end of the 2 weeks, they walk away with a link to an app or a game, something that they've designed and worked on with the other students in their program. I can say from experience that we have a lot of overlap between students who do a clubs program and do a summer program, but I'd say that the overwhelming majority of students are high school students who did a summer program and then come back to their school in the fall and want a Girls Who Code clubs. They love this experience. I think that the sisterhood component really sets it apart from other maybe like longer summer coding programs. Honestly, I think it's really accessible, flexible. There's 3 rounds and students can participate in any round. And finally, we offer a stipend for students up to $300 and tech support. So there's no cost to apply, but if they feel like they're taking time out of a summer job or opportunity, then they're more than welcome to apply for the stipend to help offset any summer, job funds that they are missing out on. And so I know I could talk about this program and the feedback I've heard all day, but I'd love to just share a snippet of what one of our students who's an alum from this program, an alum from basically all of our programs at this point, said about her time. So I'll go ahead and play this. Let me know if you can't hear it.
Hi, my name is Evelyn, and this summer I took part in Girls Who Code's Round 2 Summer Immersion Program sponsored by Synchrony Finance. And one key lesson that I learned was really just to break outside of my comfort zone. Before taking part in this camp, I would have never considered doing anything STEM related. I've always kind of been a humanities, business, law type of person, and it's kind of what I want to pursue in college. So STEM, let alone something as intricate and complicated like computer science, never even crossed my mind. But as I was researching more virtual opportunities this summer, the Girls Who Code program showed up, and I decided to take part in it. So here I am after completing the program a few weeks later, and I can definitely say it was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. In addition, it kind of broke that stigmatization around coding for me, because I always thought that it was super duper complicated, and I think I was honestly just thinking more about the back end of it. But because the summer immersion program taught me more about the front end of coding, like designing through CSS, HTML, JavaScript, it appealed a lot more to me. And it also allowed me to combine more of my interests, whether it was through the Activist Toolkit, where I was able to make an informational site about gun control, or just portfolios about myself, like I would on, for example, a LinkedIn page. So yeah, this school year, I'm going to be taking part in my very first AP Computer Science course. And I can definitely say it was only because of programs like Girls Who Code, which gave me the confidence to go outside of my comfort zone and try new things. Hey, I might even major in computer science later on in college. But thank you, Girls Who Code, for giving me the confidence to do everything and try everything, no matter if I end up pursuing it in college or not.
We love Evelyn. She's like a real rock star, has been such a fantastic supporter, but also someone who's a great example of going into this program feeling like not necessarily sure and walking out of it with a brand new experience. And I think that's the overwhelming majority of the feedback that we hear from both programs, especially from our female students, that they didn't think they would like this, but that they're really excited to find a way to combine it with things that they are really passionate about or love. And then just kind of the network and the community that they build in these programs. So I just want to encourage you, if you know any high school students who might be interested, we are still accepting applications. We have actually corporate sponsors who sponsor these classrooms. And so we have a wait list, but students come off of that wait list very quickly as spots open up in new classrooms, since the program doesn't start until this June. With that, sharing a little bit about summer programs, thank you for giving me some time to talk about that. I'm happy to take any questions about both programs, especially if you're interested in bringing this curriculum back to your students. And if there are no questions, that's okay for today. I know it's a lot of information. I do really hope that it can be the beginning of a conversation. So I will also just bring me back to the contact information slide so that you can reach out to me. Yeah, you can reach out to me anytime. Like Val said, I'm the community partner manager for our relationship with Code Savvy and for Minnesota overall. So if you're thinking about ways that you want to use the curriculum or talk with us about working together in a way I haven't already described, definitely, please feel free to let me know what you're thinking and how we can make this curriculum more accessible and relevant to your students. So with that note, thank all of you. I really appreciate your time. I'll leave this slide up just in case you want to sign in to get a copy of this deck or send me a note. But thank you for attending the session, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Code Summit.
Thank you so much, Kibret. As always, I love seeing you and having you here. Thank you.
Same, Val. No, thank you for the opportunity.